This Saturday night, you got a highly intriguing matchup in the flyweight division main event between Manel Kape and Asu Almabayev. We're going to get to that prediction. Also, our double UFC champions, a thing of the past. We saw Ilia Topuria vacate the belt. Some people are alluding to the fact that Dana White and the UFC made him do that in order to go up to lightweight to fight Islam. Well, Dana White responds. Also, we got fighters already telling Hamza Chimaev how he can beat Dricus du Plessis. But does Hamza really care? We got these topics and this week's fight predictions for you. Next.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege. Privilege.
What up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TCMMA podcast, and we're still trying to recover from last night. It ended up being a longer night than we expected, but Henry Cejudo got poked, and that fight came to an end before the fourth round began. And unfortunately for him, he got the L. He could have bowed out in the third round and took the no contest, but instead he took the L. And Dana White responds to that. Now, during the show today, we're going to get to several fight predictions for UFC Vegas 103 this Saturday night. But before we get there, we got some news since the last time we went live. And let's just kick this thing off with Dana White and several topics. Right? So Dana White was asked about two things last night. One was the Henry Cejudo fight, but the other was UFC double champs. Are they a thing of the past? And Dana White not saying yes. He says if there's a guy that thinks he can do it and wants to defend both belts and has accomplished all these great things, I would have no problem with it. But you're going to be busy. He said last night in the press conference. And, you know, he's right, because sometimes guys move up a division, actually win the belt and become a double champ, then they don't want to go back down to defend. I mean, would you? So if you're going to defend two belts, you're going to be busy. I mean, you're going to be fighting every 3 months, and that's just not reasonable once you reach a status of a champion, because you want to make sure you're fully rested, healthy, and prepared to defend the belt. And you can't do that every 3 months unless you're Alex Pereira. And then moving up and down divisions, that's very difficult. So it's not like double champs are a thing of the past. And really, if you win the second belt, you're still a two-belt champion. It's kind of the same thing. There's no real need to hold on to them both at the same time. I mean, you know, there's just no reason for that. Or else you're going to have guys being booked for a title fight up a division, and they might already be booked 3 months later to defend the belt in the lower division. It's just going to cause problems, and you can't keep the whole division on hold. So if Ilia Topuria wants to go up to lightweight, you can't just keep the whole featherweight division on hold. So that's kind of where Dana White is coming from. Now, he was also asked about Henry Cejudo last night. He took the loss, right? When he got poked in the third round, took a full 5-minute recovery, finished the last minute 15, said in the corner, I can't see, and then they stopped the fight really right as the fourth round began, or you could say in between rounds. I'm not really sure what the official thing was there, but the bottom line is Henry Cejudo took the L on the judges' scorecards. And both fighters saying they want a rematch. Dana White's not interested in it, because what he's interested in is moving Song Yadong up, giving him a chance to fight someone higher ranked and see what he can do. So Henry Cejudo's time in the UFC might be coming to an end very quickly. He was better off taking the no contest and saying he couldn't see. That might have forced a rematch. But last night we ended up going 7-5. We're now 3-3 on the main event. Not good. Not good at all. Henry Cejudo really hurt us last night, 4-2. would have given us some wiggle room. But at the end of the day, 7-5, not bad. Could have easily been 8-4. We're 41-32 overall, so we're pulling away there. But we got some tough main events coming up, like this week's main event between Manel Kape and Asu Almabayev. We need to get these next couple main events right, but they're going to be very tough because to me, they're toss-ups. I mean, it's very close. And, we got Pereira winning the following week, but who knows what Ankalaev can do, right? We got to wait and see. So that's how it turned out last night at UFC Seattle. It started the night with like 7 straight KOs, though. So very exciting. And then a couple days ago, Dana White was asked to, what's going on with John Jones and Tom Aspinall. And he just more or less said, it's coming, relax, as he did a Q&A on YouTube, or responded to a couple questions. And that's one that really everybody wants to know, that fight and Hamza versus Strikers. So John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, he says it's coming. Everybody relax, calm down. It's just a matter of getting both guys to sign on the dotted line and set a date. They might already have a date, but they're not prepared to release it yet, right? That happens a lot. So that's coming. Now, in terms of Hamza versus Dricus du Plessis, it seems like this fight is going to happen. It's just a matter of when it will be announced, right? It might be behind John Jones and Tom Aspinall, unless that's later in the year. We're looking at Hamza and Dricus sometime in June, July, August, somewhere around there. And those are kind of prime time for the UFC. And then you got to work on getting them in the country. But several fighters, or at least a few, are weighing in on Hamza. One saying, and this is MVP, Michael Venom Page, saying on the Overdogs podcast with Mike Perry, I guarantee you he gets the title this year. Guarantee. He looked better in the last fight. Obviously, it didn't last long, so we didn't get to see much. But normally, he's like Crash Bandicoot in the first round, and then his energy dips. But if he's able to manage his energy and his muscular endurance and not go too crazy, I don't see anybody beating him. Okay, and we respect MVP's opinion, but if I'm coaching Hamza, I'm not telling him to slow down. I'm telling him to go in there and get the victory. Imagine if he slowed down against Robert Whittaker and got into the 3rd, 4th, whatever round. I can't remember if it was 3 or 5. But imagine, and I'm pretty sure it was the main event. I can't remember if it was a co-main or main, but either way, you don't want to go into deep waters with Robert Whittaker. And yes, it was a 5-round fight, if my memory serves correct. Who needs rounds 4 and 5 if you can finish a guy in the first? But MVP saying if you don't get to finish more or less, then your energy starts to run out. And that's kind of true too. But at the same time, no one's stopping Hamza from trying to win the belt in the first round. Aljamain Sterling also said, I believe on his YouTube channel, Hamza Chimaev he's a bulldozer. But Hamza's going to need to get him out of there in the first round. And this is the belief, right, is that Hamza needs to get the job done early. And they're going to keep saying this until he wins a decisive decision. But, I mean, if he wins a decisive decision, that's great. But I don't know about you. I like to see him get finishes in the first round. It just makes, I don't want to sit through 30 minutes of tense fighting and have to wait on a decision and put it in the judge's hands. Forget all that. Hamza's not even thinking about that. I can guarantee you that. He's not even thinking about that one bit. He's thinking about getting in there and finishing this fight as quickly as possible. So that's what's going on in the news. Now, let's jump right into this week's predictions. Some other fights we're not going to get into, welterweight fight. Actually, no, we might get into that one, but in the featherweight division, Ricardo Ramos, this is in the prelims versus Chepe Mariscal. I had a tough time with that pick, even though Mariscal is a heavy favorite. Another fight that's trending, and a lot of Brazilians again. Douglas Silva de Andrade versus John Castaneda. Castaneda, a 2-1 favorite. That's going to be a big one. You got a couple women's fights: Andrea Lee versus J.J. Aldrich, Montana De La Rosa versus Luana Carolina. So, and in this division, the women's flyweight, that is, they're just fighters are just trading with each other. I'll fight you, you two fight each other, then we'll flip flop, and you just got all this going on until someone's going to emerge in the middle. But these are mid-level fighters right now. Carolina, Brazilian, 11-4, she could make a run. I also like the first fight of the night, at least as of now, Charles Johnson versus Ramazan Temirov. That's a flyweight division fight. So, a couple big fights here on this card for sure. But let's start out with Haider Emil, 10-0. This is a featherweight division fight versus France's William Gomez. He's 14-2. So let's check out this fight right now, and we'll break it down even further when we get back. In the featherweight division at UFC Vegas 103, you got Haider Emil taking on William Gomez. This is a highly intriguing fight for a fight night situation, right? Because Haider Emil is 10-0 from the Philippines. William Gomez, solid from France. He's 14-2. He's a slight favorite here. 3 inches taller at 6 feet. He's 27. Emil, 34. Gomez, 3-inch reach advantage. He fights left-handed. Emil is a switch stance fighter. And Emil is very active. 6.3 significant strikes per minute to 2.7 for Gomez. That's not a good look. Both guys don't land a lot of takedowns, like one every 4 or 5 rounds. Emil also has a 78% takedown defense. Coming off the win against Jiang Yang Lee by first round KO. Fernie Garcia, second round KO. And Emra Sanmez at the Contender Series by decision. He gave up 5 takedowns in that fight. That's a problem. Gomez beat the Brazilian Joe Anderson Brito by split decision in his last fight. Last time out, he gave up 3 takedowns, but led 43-29 in significant strikes, which usually outweighs the takedowns. But you got to give Brito credit. He had 2 submission attempts in that fight. William Gomez also beat Yanis Gamori by third round KO. Beat Francis Marshall by split decision. That's a nice win. And Jarno Aarons by unanimous decision. Now, he's not landing a lot of significant strikes, but he's surgical in the octagon. He knows how to win. Haider Emil will be a problem because he's 10-0. He's solid. He hasn't lost yet. But Gomez is just 27. And to me, this fight is a lot closer than the 2-1 odds in favor of Gomez. But I got to go with Gomez because he's younger. He's 27. I always say this about the younger fighters that are just entering the prime or not quite in the prime. Whatever you saw last fight, they're going to be better this fight. So that's part of the prediction, is that Gomez is only getting better at this point in time. Even the 2 losses has helped him along the way. So I like William Gomez to win this fight. Just more experience, not in age, but in fights. He's got 16 fights to Haider Emil's 10. Now, again, Haider Emil is undefeated, and I don't like Gomez's numbers. But despite those numbers, he's still 14-2. And sometimes you see that in sports. People or teams just find ways to win, and that's what William Gomez is all about. So I like him to win this thing by decision. He may give up some takedowns, but he'll also lead in significant strikes, which he's done before and still got the win. So that's how I kind of see this thing playing out. In my opinion, Gomez wins to move to 15-2 featherweight division, UFC Vegas 103. Yeah, so we think William Gomez is going to take down the undefeated Haider Emil, but it's going to be one of those fights that's very close. I mean, very close. And real-time odds right now, Gomez is a 2-1 favorite. Okay. But Haider Emil is undefeated, so I don't think it's going to be easy. And it's just one of those things you don't know what you're going to get until it happens. Because when you got these undefeated fighters, like 10, 12-0, they got a lot to prove, but then they jump up levels, and it's like, okay, we really don't know how good you are, right? We don't know how good you are until the fight happens. So looking forward to that one for sure, because I like William Gomez. Think he's really good. Now, in another fight in the main card, welterweight division, Danny Barlow, another undefeated guy, 9-0, versus Sam Patterson. He's 12-2. So this is going to be a high-level fight. Danny Barlow, this time it's flipped. The undefeated fighter is the favorite. So let's get into it right now. In the welterweight division at UFC Vegas 103, you got Danny Barlow taking on Sam Patterson. And this is an intriguing matchup. Barlow, undefeated at 9-0, is a slight favorite here. Patterson from England is 12-2. So American versus England. or America versus England, I should say. Patterson 1 inch taller is 6'3". He's 28. Barlow 29. I like that. Neither got 30 yet. Barlow 1 inch reach advantage. He fights left-handed. Patterson fights right-handed. Now the difference is Barlow nearly 6 significant strikes per minute. That's ridiculous. Patterson 2.7 per minute. So Barlow's got an advantage on the feet in terms of activity. In terms of the takedown game, Barlow gets no takedowns. He's a striker. Patterson lands like 2 every 3 rounds. But Danny Barlow, 100% takedown defense. He's got the win previously against Nikolai Veretnikov by split decision. Very close fight. He beat Josh Quinlan by 3rd round KO, dominated 95-39 in significant strikes, and beat Raheem Forrest by 1st round KO at the Contender Series. Now, the last fight, there was a split decision, really helped him in this fight. More on that in a minute. Sam Patterson, 33% takedown defense. That won't matter because his opponent is a striker. He beat Kiefer Crosby by submission, Johan Linnes by submission, but he was KO'd by Yanal Ashmoose after beating Vinicius Sensi by submission at the Contender Series. So far in 4 UFC settings, he's 3-1, all 3 wins by submission, 1 loss by KO. So that's kind of how you got to look at this situation. Can Danny Barlow get the KO? He's done it in 2 out of 3 fights, but can he defend the takedown? So far, he's defended them 100% of the time. So that's going to help him in this fight. If Danny Barlow can defend takedowns, he'll likely KO Sam Patterson, and that's exactly what I think happens. I think Danny Barlow is going to defend the takedowns. The American gets the win here by 1st or 2nd round KO. If it goes to the 3rd, he might get the KO there. I don't see this going to a decision, so I like Danny Barlow to win by KO, in my opinion, to move to 10-0, welterweight division, UFC Vegas 103. Yeah, so we're with the odds on this one. I mean, he's a 3-1 favorite for a reason. Sam Patterson's a good fighter, but Danny Barlow is just better. And not only is he better, hopefully he gets a big finish here. That's what I'm banking on. Now, as we work our way up into the big 3, best division in the UFC, lightweight division, Nasrat Haqparast, 17-5 from Morocco, taking on the 14-1 Esteban Ribovic from Argentina. He's like a little bit over a 2-1 favorite. But you know how the lightweight division is, man. Anything can happen. There's going to be a lot of good skill on both sides, including takedowns, takedown defense. The strike game will be solid. All that is on full display in this division, no matter who is fighting. So let's get into that one right now. In the lightweight division at UFC Vegas 103, you got Nasrat Haqparast taking on Esteban Ribovic. And this is going to be a very tough prediction because both guys are good at what they do. Haqparast 17-5 from Morocco. Ribovic 14-1 from Argentina. He's a favorite in this fight. Both guys 5'10". Haqparast 29 years old. I thought he was older. Wow. Ribovic is 28, so they're both still relatively young. Interesting. Haqparast 3-inch reach advantage, 72-69. He fights left-handed. Esteban fights right-handed. Both guys heavy in the activity. A lot of significant strikes. Nasrat 6.2 per minute. Ribovic 7.5. Well above the UFC average. These guys don't even land takedowns. I mean, combined, they might get 1 takedown every 3 rounds. So we might have some attempts and some control time, but probably not any takedowns. It's going to be a stand-up striking affair. That's what we want. Plus Haqparast, 84% takedown defense. He's on a win streak right now, in case you're doubting him. Beat John Makdessi back in 2022 by decision. Landon Quinones, 2023. Decision. Jamie Malarkey, KO, 2023. Then last year, he beat Jared Gordon by split decision in a fight that could be very similar to this. 146-141 in significant strikes. That's crazy. Now, Ribovic coming off the win over Daniel Zellhuber. It's a big win by split decision as well. 156-121. So you do have some lightweights that will say forget the takedowns and just will strike with you. So that's important. That's a big win there for him. He also KO'd Terrence McKinney. Look out. In the first round. Beat Camuel Leclerc by decision. He did lose to Loic Razovov by decision. Very good fight, but he gave up 11 takedowns. So he won't have to worry about that here. Listen, this is going to be, you might as well flip a coin. I know Ribovic is nearly 2.5 to 1 favorite, but the bottom line is you might as well flip a coin. These guys are going to come out swinging. Anything is possible. Anyone can get dropped at any time. But I still got to go with Esteban Ribovic to get the victory. Listen, this guy's used to this. The only fight he lost is because he couldn't defend the takedown. That could become a problem later, but it shouldn't be a problem in this fight unless Haqparast wants to make it one. But this falls right in line with what Ribovic needs, and that's a striker, not a takedown specialist, or he could be in trouble. But I like him to win this fight, and I hope he gets the KO here. But either way, he's going to outstrike Haqparast, or at least win 2 rounds out of 3 to move to 1501. Big fight, best division in the UFC, lightweight division at UFC Vegas 103. And let me stress the fact that Nasrat is no joke, man. I mean, this guy is a good fighter. He's very capable of winning. It's the lightweight division. It's the toughest division on the planet in MMA, not only in the UFC. I mean, the depth from 10 to 40 is ridiculous. And then as you approach the number 1 spot or the champion, Islam, it just gets tougher and tougher and tougher. Which is why it will be interesting to see Ilya Topuria move up to this division, because you really don't know till you step in here. It's a whole different animal. So, we like Esteban Ribovic to win this fight, but I had to make it clear that Nasrat is no joke. Now in the co-main event, you got Cody Brundage 10-6. This is USA versus USA taking on Julian Marquez, who comes in at 9-5. This isn't the best co-main event, other than the fact that, in terms of the records, but in terms of the action, this is going to be a great co-main event, right? Because both of these guys pack a punch. They have a lot of power, and they're going to be coming in looking for the KO. So who will get it? Let's jump into it right now. In the middleweight division at UFC Vegas 103, you got Cody Brundage taking on Julian Marquez. And I like this matchup because both guys need a victory and can't afford to lose, which always makes for an interesting situation. Now, Brundage 10-6, Marquez 9-5. You see why, based on the records, they cannot lose. Marquez 2 inches taller at 6'2". He's 34, Brundage 30. Both guys equal reach. Both guys stand right-handed. Marquez lands 4.9. Not bad. Significant strikes per minute to 1.6 for Cody. But you know what that means. Cody has a ground game. He gets 2 takedowns every 3 rounds, and he's lower to the ground. Also, Marquez, 53% takedown defense. That's not very good. Could be a problem here. Now, Cody Brundage's last fight is a no contest against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. He did lose to Bo Nickel by submission, but at least he got to the second round. It's kind of expected. However, he beat Zachary Reese by KO prior to that and lost to Cedric Dumas. So he's still got a lot to prove. Julian Marquez, on the other hand, lost to Zachary Reese by KO. So that should help with the prediction. He also lost to Marc-Andre Barrial by KO, Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez by KO. His last win was April of 2021 against Sam Alvey. So he's coming in with his back against the wall. But, I'm already leaning towards Cody Brundage anyway. But the fact is Brundage is going to land takedowns. Forget the striking difference. The game plan is simple. If Julian Marquez can stop takedowns, he wins. If he can't, he loses. So I'm gonna ride with the fact that I think Brundage is going to land takedowns here and get the win here in the middleweight division at UFC Vegas 103. Yeah, so just a tough fight there to predict as well. They're going to come out fast and furious in the first round, and it's close enough to where either guy can win. But Cody, 30, right in the prime. 30 is like the best age for a fighter, especially in the men's divisions. Women like 36, 34 to 36. But men, 27 to 33, with 30 being the absolute prime. But they're close. They're both close enough to it. But can Brundage land takedowns? That's going to be the question in this fight as well, because he Julian Marquez is just going to try to KO you. Brundage can KO you too, but the takedown game 2 every 3 rounds is where it's at. And he's going to need every bit of that to win this fight, and then utilize the ground and pound, hopefully. We'll see. Now, the main event is a big one, right? I know sometimes, like the women's divisions, when you see flyweight main event, you're like, right? Because it's the smallest division, 125 pounds. But this is Manel Kape. This is a very fiery guy, has a lot to say, energetic, all those type of things. He's 20-7 coming in from Portugal. And then Asu Almabayev 21-2 from Kazakhstan. I mean, this is, Manel is the favorite, but I mean, Asu is 21-2. So this is a big prediction, one that can go either way. And we're 3-3 going in. Desperately need this one to come through. That's for sure. So let's jump into it right now. In the flyweight division at UFC Vegas 103, your main event. It's a tough one here. You got Manel Kape taking on Asu Almabayev. And I take Manel Kape almost against anybody, but this is a tough one. Kape 20-7 from Portugal, Almabayev 21-2 from Kazakhstan. Oh boy. Manel 1 inch taller at 5'5". They're both 31. Manel has a 3-inch reach advantage. He fights left-handed. Asu Almabayev fights right-handed. Now on the feet, Manel dominates. 5.1 significant strikes per minute to 2.1 for Almabayev. So you already know what that means. Asu's trying to take the fight to the ground where he lands almost just shy of 2 takedowns per round. So if this thing did go 5 rounds, you're looking at like 7 or 8 takedowns. It's hard to believe against Manel Kape, who defends like 77% of the takedowns. He stops 3 out of 5. So he's going to bring that 7 takedowns that you would expect Asu to get throughout a 5-round fight. Not to say it's going to go that far, but he'll bring that down to 3 or 4, and then he's got to escape 1 or 2 of those and get back to defeat. That's the path to victory. Now he beat Bruno Silva by 3rd round KO, lost to Muhammad Makayev by decision. Before that, he beat Felipe dos Santos, decision. David Dvorak, decision, and he KO'd Zhalgas Zamagulov. So, and against Muhammad Makayev in the loss, he gave up 3 takedowns. So that's the fear in this one. Almabayev, 50% takedown defense. That's not very good, but that'll be just fine for this fight. He beat Matthias Nikolov by decision, right? Held him to 16 significant strikes. Jose Johnson dominated him by decision. 6 takedowns to 1. Held Johnson to 5 significant strikes. CJ Vergara held him to 29 significant strikes while landing 9 takedowns and beat O'Day Osborne by submission on the 2nd takedown. So in 4 UFC fights, he's got 18 takedowns. So he's getting like 4 or 5 takedowns per fight. So that's going to be the problem for Manel. Very tough fight to predict, and I like Manel, but I got to go with Asu here. Asu Almabayev, that is, just because of the takedown game. I mean, Manel can defend him, and if he can keep the fight standing, he can win the fight. But I just think Asu is going to break through that. The guy's 21-2. He's dominating people, and so far in the UFC, he's 4-0. So as much as I like Manel, we got to keep it real with the predictions. And in my opinion, Almabayev wins this thing on control time. And Manel won't be held to like 10 significant strikes. He's going to get like 40, 50, 60, but he's not going to have 100, 120 like he would if it went normally 5 rounds. So, and can Asu get the finish? It's very possible. We'll see. But either way, I'll take the Kazakhstan fighter to win this one and move to 22-2, in my opinion. Flyweight division, UFC Vegas 103. Oh man, I really thought that we had Manel Kape. We do the main events several weeks, if not months ahead of time. As soon as they're announced, we try to get the main events predicted is within several days. So, it's been a couple weeks. I'm not really looking ahead to this one because it's at the Apex Center. You got UFC Seattle before it, and then the pay-per-view UFC 313, Pineda versus Ankalaev after it. So this is sandwiched in the middle, and I just haven't been paying attention. And this is going to be a rough one for me because I like Manel Kape. Like I want to watch the fight and hope he wins because he talks trash. When he wins, it's exciting. He knows who he wants to fight next. So it's going to be a good interview. But I got to root for Asu Almabayev, I guess, because that's who we predicted. And the funny thing is he's nearly a 2-1 underdog here. So we're taking a chance in a week that we really can't take a chance because we're 3-3 on the year. So still much better than last year. But you go back 2, 3, 4 years ago, we're jumping out to like 14-3, 16-2. I mean, just amazing starts to the season. And the last 2 years have been slow starts. And eventually we'll find our way. But that ought to tell you these main events are getting tougher and tougher to predict. I can tell through our predictions. I mean, we're still going to be over 100 wins and losses each year, but there's 40 plus cards. The main event you could see is getting tougher and tougher week by week. And that just shows me, it makes me feel like the UFC, the depth is just getting better and better and better. And these matchups, the matchmakers, we've been saying this for the last year or so, the matchmakers are just flowing right now. They're giving you some tough fights to predict, and it's separating the UFC fans like 50-50 each and every week. So just makes it interesting, man. But yeah, that's what we got this week. And then guess what? We roll right into UFC 313. Bulldog Matt said, I got Asul and Ramazan both winning. Yeah, I like that. He also says, yeah, I don't understand why Manel odds are so, basically so much in favor. Maybe because it's short notice. Yeah, right. So they're looking at Asul like a little bit short notice because it's supposed to be Brandon Royval. So maybe they're giving the edge now more so to Manel. So we'll see how them odds, will they come closer as we get closer to the fight? We'll see. They gave Royval also underdog versus him before that got canceled. And that's why I had a tough time with this prediction is there's a lot of hype and momentum around Manel. But then he just lost 2 fights ago. So how real is it? I mean, he's a big-time trash talker, and he tends to back it up. That's what has me worried here. And he's definitely a better striker in this one, but Asul's not going to worry about that. If this becomes a striking battle, Manel's going to win. Asu's got to take the fight to the ground, and he lands well over a takedown per round. So we're banking on that to happen. We're banking on the takedown game to overwhelm Manel. But listen, that's all we got for today. Hamzat Chimaev in the news. John Jones Aspinall. It's coming. Relax, says Dana White. No rematch between Cejudo and Song Yadong. Yeah, it's time for Cejudo. He's getting close to the end. It's unfortunate. Song is looking up. And I don't think Song goes very far, but who knows, right? We'll have to wait and see. But listen, that's a wrap. Until next time, this is your boy Chris Cross. Hope you all have a great day. And God bless, as always. Peace.